Europe. So, well, I hope this will be useful for you, that also it will be useful for those who will watch it afterwards. Thank you very much for your participation today. Thank you very much for the future viewers that will profit from this, hopefully. Please give us your remarks, your feedback. How can we do things better? If we are doing this well, please tell us. We also need sometimes some good words. We have a chat where you can put your comments or questions. Also, we have allocated a couple of slots where you can also take the floor and make questions, particularly after the intervention of the Commission and at the end of the session. Well, I hope this is interesting for you. I hope you will enjoy also meeting other colleagues from different parts of Europe, and we stay at full disposal should you need anything else. Now, I just have the pleasure to give the floor to my dear colleague, Esteban Pelayo. Esteban, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. I will moderate the session together with Martín Guillermo. There is a long history already of collaboration between EURADA, the European Association of Development Agencies, and the Association of European Border Regions. We are always speaking about cooperation among our members, and I think the best thing is to show by yourselves what we do together and we cooperate. Every year we do at least one thing together. So last year we made a seminar on international trade, and as well we have cooperated a lot with them in our annual brokerage event or the summer course that we organize. So this year we started very strong. So in February we have done something. Probably we will do more things during the year. For us, border regions are important because they are indicators of the state of the internal market. And as you know, the internal market is one of the achievements of the European Union, and it is important normally in good times, but especially in this time or this challenging time, because it provides critical mass and stability to SMEs. And we work together, and we are very pleased to work together with the European Association of Border Regions in things related to SMEs. I'm going to give you some figures about the internal market and the relevance. Accordingly, with the Service of Studies of the European Parliament, that is quite interesting, the papers that they prepare, very professional. The trade of goods in the European Union is around 25% of the GDP, and the trade of service that needs to be improved is 8% of the annual GDP. If we complete what we have established in the regulations, accordingly with their estimation, we will reach more than 180 billion of additional income per year. I think billions is something that we miss, but if we compare the 25% of the GDP in the European Union with the United States internal market, which is something that we could compare, for them is 40%. So we have still room to increase and to work with. This is something that we should do. We could do. It's not something related only to the member states and the regulations. We could help and assist on our daily basis, and we should do as development agencies or our regions in order to inform and to help our SMEs to cooperate and to do business across borders. For example, let them know what is that they could use better the mutual recognition. Try to cooperate in the administration across the different borders in order to help our companies to do things. And especially we need to do that in the service, because as we know, service in a developed economy is something that is very important. It's not only trade goods that are there, but the value added is more and more in the service. And in many cases, service and digital things are not so well done, mainly because we would like to guarantee different aspects that at the end could be satisfied in the internal market. So I think we have an interesting day to learn and to discover how we could do these things better that are not in our hands, and we could do as a regional economic practitioner. And I will let the floor to Martín and to the speakers from the European Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Esteban. Yes, actually, we have started soon. So I think also we want to follow up. We consider it's very important what's happening with the SMEs in Europe, especially now when it seems the end of the pandemic and then in the post-pandemic period. We also have a couple of projects where we are also trying to know more about the dynamics of SMEs. So yes, we take the offer. Of course, we will be very happy to do more things together in this year. Big pleasure to have you here and to do this together. Well, I think now, yes, as you said, let's go to our stars of today. The DG Grow has a special department dealing with SMEs. We already had 2 years ago an exchange with them about the situation in border areas, cross-border areas, and exchanging with Esteban, we have known more, because I know, Esteban, that you are very much in contact with DG Grow. This is, if our natural partner is DG Regio, your natural partner is DG Grow. So if we are together now, we should try to put them together too. So today we will welcome, there are 3 representatives of DG Grow with us. Ms. Maarit Nyman, sorry if I cannot pronounce properly the name.
No problem. Hello, everybody. Maarit Nyman.
Thank you. Janos, Schmied, and Artur, Romanek. So, well, we really are looking forward to your presentation. So I will stop talking here and give you the floor to start with your presentation. Very welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Guillermo Ramírez and Mr. Pelayo, for this very kind invitation to come and present our activities. It's always a very big pleasure, and of course, in the very let's say dramatic times that we are living in and difficult for SMEs, it's even more important that we explain what we do, and what is even more important, I would say, is that we get feedback from the ground, if I may say so, on how the support measures and policies work for SMEs and what we could do better. And it's always also our objective to get feedback on specific, let's say, on specific types of companies, but of course also companies which are located across the European Union in different regions. So as we were already introduced, so we are 3 colleagues making this presentation. So we are from the Commission, from DG Grow, and indeed we have a directorate which deals with COSME program, which is a specific EU program for small and medium-sized enterprises, which will continue its existence, if I may say so, in the future programming period, which actually will start this year, as part of the single market program. So the COSME will be one pillar of the single market program, which also then shows you in practice how important the single market is for small businesses. And I really appreciate also what Mr. Guillermo Ramírez said in the beginning on the importance of the single market for small businesses, and on the importance of keeping the borders open despite this difficult situation. So that's indeed very important. So we have a set of slides that we will use as a support. So maybe my colleague Artur, if you could start the presentation so that we have the slide. So what we intend to do today is to present our main policy framework, so the EU SME Strategy for Sustainable and Digital Europe, to you, what it includes and how it contributes to helping SMEs. Of course, in the short term to get out of this difficult situation, but also, of course, in the longer term to reply to the twin challenge of becoming more sustainable and more digital. And actually, I suggest that I will say a few words before we go into the SME strategy on the EU SME policy in general, what the objectives are, how we work, especially what we call the SME policy governance. So it means in practice that how we work with different stakeholders, member states, with really the whole range of different players who are very important in promoting SMEs and of course recovery in the European Union. Then a few words on our crisis response, and then Artur will take over and present the SME strategy. So what we call our long-term framework for SMEs economic recovery, and then Janos will continue with this more, let's say, regional aspects of our policy. So our main tool for really being present across the European Union in all the different regions, the Enterprise Europe network, and then also a specific action that we are currently working on, which is the border regions pilot. And then we will give some links to all this information if you are interested to learn more, and of course ready to take questions if you have. So if we start, I don't need to repeat the importance of SMEs. SMEs in the European Union, of course, you already know all these impressive figures, and what is really true, as Mr. Guillermo Ramírez said in the beginning, that the majority, really the overall majority of SMEs in the European Union are micro enterprises. So the figure is not on this slide, but something like 93% of all companies are micro enterprises, so employing less than 10 people. So that already shows the challenges for really these very small enterprises, and also of course the number of self-employed, which is also increasing. So this is the population that has been extremely hard hit with the crisis, and here we really need to be very innovative to see what type of support we can provide at the European Union level, and also see, I mean, how this support then is channeled to those who really need it. And of course, with the crisis, I think we also see really very concrete terms the importance of small companies in different regions, because it's not only the economic importance, but it's also very much different types of societal impacts and the societal importance that comes through, especially now when a lot of businesses have had to close down, and what it means for our daily life. So the importance of SMEs is really much broader than the economic importance, I would say. So the EU SME policy, of course, we at the EU level, we are very much focusing on common challenges that companies face across the EU, in member states, in regions. And we try to provide solutions to these challenges, always thinking what type of added value the EU action could bring compared to actions just in individual member states. And it's not actually, we have had these different policy frameworks, or we still have them. We have the Small Business Act, which you might be familiar with. We have now the new SME strategy. And in all these tools or instruments, there are the main building blocks. So access to finance is always difficult for small businesses. But administrative burden is hit also, or hits harder the small businesses than bigger ones. Access to markets, of course, is an issue, as you well know. Promoting entrepreneurship is an issue. So these are the kind of a big areas that we try to work on and improve the situation across the European Union. And then, of course, as Artur will tell you a little bit later, the new challenges, or the, let's say, not new, but really important challenges of the twin transition. So becoming digital and also becoming, of course, more sustainable as a business. So these are the let's say the objectives and the action areas that we are working on. And then when we work in an area like the SME policy, which is of course extremely cross-cutting, there are a number of different players. The Commission by no means has an exclusive competence. On the contrary, I mean, our objective is to cooperate with different players. And there, of course, I mean, I have put on this slide, I mean, a lot of different players, actors who contribute to the SME policy, to the design, but also, of course, to the implementation, and also the different resources that we have. And we, of course, the policies target very different types of companies. So we have more traditional companies, we have startups, we have scale-ups. We have, of course, also the entrepreneurship, as I mentioned, as one objective, so the promotion of entrepreneurship. We work very closely with business associations. I mean, as you know, EURADA is regularly invited to our meetings that we hold with stakeholder business associations. Then, of course, public authorities. So we work across the Commission. We work with other institutions, the European Parliament, of course, the Council, member states, but also with the Committee of Regions, where we try to cooperate as much as possible on everything that relates to SMEs entrepreneurship. So, for example, the European Entrepreneurial Region Awards is something which is an excellent idea to really showcase the entrepreneurship in the European Union across the regions. And then, of course, with member states, we have what we call an SME invoice network, so a representative from each member state who knows the business community in his or her country, and also is someone who has experience in the national administration and who can do a kind of a liaising and conveying the important messages, what businesses need in the country in question, and then, of course, this at EU level, this SME invoice form a network which discuss together the EU legislation, what are the issues, how to help SMEs in a better way, and of course the importance of regional and local authorities is of course also undeniable. And we do, and then of course we have our own projects, but as you can see on the top right, we have put a box where it says think small first in ecosystems, which means that of course a lot of our work consists of influencing what others are doing. So for example, in the regional policies, our objective was to put the SME objectives as part of the regional policy funding objectives, so that the funding is steered towards, for example, strengthening entrepreneurship or creating clusters or making sure that clusters work with each other. So these type of activities, and of course the ecosystems perspective is a relatively new perspective. So the idea that we should look really not only the different sectors, but really the whole economy around these sectors, and see, I mean, how SMEs operate in these different ecosystems. And this concept is very much the core of the industrial strategy, the Commission's industrial strategy, which is now under revision, and there will be an updated document that will come out, or will be adopted in March this year. So that will explain more in detail this ecosystems concept. But of course, that's also a key concept if you think from the regional policies point of view, because of course these ecosystems are very deeply embedded in regions and localities. But so this is and then yes. The idea, of course, then is that we bring people together. So we have networks that we run, like the Enterprise Europe network. There are also clusters networks and other networks. And the idea is that we really try to bring these different networks together to work together to raise awareness to raise awareness of the sport possibilities of business opportunities. So that's really the key of our actions. And then if we move on, so we were talking about the serious impact of the crisis, and of course I don't need to remind you about that. I have just put on this slide a couple of figures which really speak for themselves. So the impact of crisis in different countries at the European level, but also in different countries. And of course, this is also one important part of our work, that we really constantly collect information and data on SMEs in different member states, and what is happening, and that we then share this information and also the response that the national authorities have taken to the crisis. Then if we move on, I will just quickly, show you a couple of examples of these, let's say, more crisis related measures that we have taken. So of course the Enterprise Europe network, the crisis response was very much to provide practical support and information to those companies who are working on innovations that were somehow related to the crisis. So helping companies to apply for the European Innovation Council support and find partners and innovation. Then, as I said, we have the SME Envoy network, and there also we mobilize this network to really report to us what are the good practices, what is happening in the member states, what is the situation, what are the solutions. And then we brought all these measures together and then, of course, encourage member states to exchange these good practices. Then at the Commission level, we also had the so-called SURE initiative, so 100 billion solidarity instrument to help workers keep their income and business stay afloat. And of course, also in our COSME program, the loan guarantee facility, we topped it up with the European Fund for Strategic Investment Funds, and also finally the Escalar initiative, which we used for supporting liquidity needs of scale-ups. So this is of course only one part of the initiatives. We have many more. We have of course the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which also should focus its support very much for SMEs. But these are of course more these crisis type measures. But then the SME strategy, which is of course more relevant than ever, is really our main tool to work on the long term to support small and medium-sized companies. And I hand over to Artur, who can present the strategy.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm trying to do two things at a time, basically show the slides and show myself. I wanted to say hello, good morning. And yes, I just wanted to move on to present you the SME strategy about our long-term support. So good morning, everyone, and let me go back to sharing the slides. So the European SME strategy was adopted last year. It will soon be a year. It was adopted on the 10th of March, so just before Europe enters into lockdown. Even though it was adopted in this difficult time and before its difficult time, it has proven to work very well in this difficult time. I mean, it's a flexible tool that we were able to adapt very quickly to the changing circumstances, and basically it has already showed its flexibility and its effectiveness in times of crisis. Nonetheless, it needs to be highlighted that it is not our tool for the crisis. This is our kind of strategic vision for what SMEs need from policymakers to be able to flourish. And basically our strategy objectives are to make Europe the most attractive place to start and run a business. And then we believe that the transition to the new sustainable and digital economy is the word of the day. So basically, this is the key challenge that SMEs are now facing. And judging by what happened during last year, and which really exposed the importance of digital and its potential to help companies stay in business, even though most of their activities had to either close or be somehow modified and adapted to the circumstances. I think this is what really confirms the importance of this digital transition. Of course, the transition to sustainability is something that you probably are very well aware of, and that is also something that is not achieved in a day, but this is also a long-term goal to which everybody needs to work together, and SMEs are certainly a part and a driver for achieving this more sustainable economy. And then finally, we want the strategy to somehow support SMEs in such a way that they are more robust, that they are more resilient, they are able to better respond to external shocks, and that they can continue despite the increased uncertainty or volatility in the markets. So these three things are the main things we had in mind when we designed the strategy. And now I would like to move on to the next slide, which basically tells you that that the strategy is universal. It's meant to be a strategy for all. It's a strategy that leaves no one behind. Basically, it doesn't discriminate against any type of business. And our strategy is not geared towards some particular type of SMEs. So we were really looking to make it work for everyone, and we really wanted to cover SMEs using different business models, SMEs coming from different sectors, SMEs with different, let's say, philosophies or strategies, SMEs of different size, SMEs more looking to develop traditional models, and also startups and companies that are very much focused on growth. We, of course, also cover entrepreneurs and self-employed. So the strategy is really a universal piece that is very inclusive. And that's because we think SMEs are very inclusive, and they basically, if you look at the ecosystems that Maarit mentioned, that is our new perspective of looking at economic policy. SMEs are the essence, the core of all those ecosystems. There's not a single ecosystem that would work without SMEs. And practically in all those ecosystems, SMEs make up more than 90% of companies. So this is in a nutshell why we and how we developed the strategy. And now if you look at what is there in the strategy and a little bit of the history maybe, the strategy comes, let's say, follows the adoption of the Small Business Act, and in a way, it builds on this legacy. It builds on its history, and it builds on the priorities of the Small Business Act. It also builds on the Startup and Scale-up initiative that the Commission adopted in 2016. So this is, let's say, our strategy is another building block that adds to what we already had in the past. Because those past elements, they may already be several years old now, but these years have never taken away their validity. So basically, the priorities from the past remain important for SME policy of today. However, there are also new challenges and opportunities, and that's why the strategy was necessary. And the main part of these new challenges is about digitalization and sustainability. And basically, in a second, I will tell you a little bit more about it. Another important area which is of significance for SMEs is access to finance. This is a recurring topic. I mean, you see traces of access to finance already in the Small Business Act. You see, I mean, traces. It's a priority under the Small Business Act. You see, of course, elements related to access to finance in the Startup and Scale-up initiative, and you see access to finance in the strategy. Of course, you also see access to finance coming up in everything that is related to Commission's crisis response. This is evident. This does not need further explaining. And then, last but not least, tapping into markets and cutting red tape. I think this is this part that is probably particularly important to companies coming from border regions. I think this is probably your main area of interest. And I'm shortly going to focus a little bit, zoom in a little bit more on this area. So on the first block of the strategy, the twin transition towards sustainability and digitalization, we wanted to give you these three examples because we think they are the most telling and the most important. Also, they probably offer the most utility for regional authorities, and we would like to invite you to get in touch. And if this is helpful for your work, we think this is where it would be good to get in touch and work together a little bit more. So first, it's the Enterprise Europe Network. That's something that my colleague Janos will shortly present to you in more depth. It's a network of business support, and the main thing you need to know about this network is that it offers free of charge assistance to companies in regions. So it's really on the business's doorstep that the assistance is given. And this network under the strategy was equipped with sustainability advisors. So these are people who offer help to SMEs on how you can adapt your business models to make them more sustainable. There's another network that is oriented towards digital solutions, and it has a very broad remit, let's say. So the areas of activities, it basically covers a lot of support in digital areas. And these hubs, one might think that they're oriented towards helping state-of-the-art companies or really developing cutting-edge technologies. And it's true, but this is not their exclusive competence. They're there to help everyone, and they're there also to help even those SMEs that have not yet identified the digital as their next step in building their business, to make this transition, to adopt first digital technologies, and to also provide advice and also some training on how to move on to make your businesses to digitalize and to move on with the digitalization. So it's not only about testing state-of-the-art things, but it's very much about broad support to the SMEs on your corner about how they can optimize their daily processes by making them digital. And then there is also funding for innovation, mainly geared towards Green Deal objectives that is being handed out under the European Innovation Council. Now I'm moving on to the block of the SME strategy that deals with access to markets and reducing administrative burden. So it's a choice of actions that we have under the strategy. Basically, maybe just to tell you, we have included the link to the strategy at the end of this presentation, so you can follow the link, read the strategy if you're interested, and there are boxes in the strategy, and there are basically 3 boxes which list actions. And if you're interested about all the actions that are there in the strategy, this is the place to look at. So there are 3 boxes because there are those 3 pillars. And under each pillar, there's a dedicated box listing what the Commission will do, and the text of the strategy explains a bit more in depth about what's going to happen for each of the actions. So, so late payments, of course, during the crisis, late payments become a lot of a problem. Companies start hoarding money and collecting cash, piling up cash. And of course, when cash is not flowing, business is not being made. So, so doing business is really something that goes hand in hand with timely payments. And the strategy puts forward this, several measures, basically including the late payment observatory and stepping up the enforcement of late payment directive to facilitate the flow of money in the economy. And then this brings me to the single digital gateway, of which you may have heard. This is a new one-stop shop for both companies and citizens who want to do business abroad. The first version went live late last year, basically in December last year. And this is where companies can go to find not only information, but also to carry out their a set of procedures in another member state. So this is a new step. This is a new opening for businesses that want to go abroad, because this is really like a portal, like a international portal that lets you access markets from abroad. Basically, this is the moment where I would like to also ask you a question about digital by default. That's the principle that means that whatever public authorities do, that it invites everyone to use the digital side of public services. So when you have a choice between going to your local office and having a procedure completed online, that basically this online procedure is so simple, and so it's inviting you to do this rather than meeting in person and carrying out your requests physically. And the once only principle, which is also linked to digital by default, which means that if a business needs to present some sort of license or authorization, or ask for any kind of authorization, that the documents that were already presented to public authorities before, in the context of asking for other licenses, or in the context of previous interactions with those public authorities, that these could be reused without having to, let's say, resubmit them. So these are the 2 cornerstones that we at the Commission consider very important for SMEs to really cut red tape, and to make sure that contacts with public authorities are less burdensome and are freeing up resources for SMEs to do business. Maybe 2 more things about the single digital gateway. There is linguistic support in another language, which means that if a company from a border region wants to go abroad, it's in single digital gateway, it will be at least able to use another language, to benefit from another language. I mean, it's not obvious that SMEs know the language of the country that is behind the border. But basically the single digital gateway is going to be there. We expect it's going to be there mainly in the English language. Of course, we had some political sensitivities to overcome. So the way it's written in the regulation, it means that that countries are set to choose. And of course, the British and the Irish wouldn't choose English as their preferred second language. But we're expecting English to be the main language for the single digital gateway. And it's up to national authorities to choose which language and how they want to provide basically their services in the under the single digital gateway. So I would basically want to invite you to maybe take contact, excuse me, with the national authorities to let them know about what companies from your border regions need. Maybe there's a need to add yet more linguistic support. Maybe what they have thought about linguistic support is not really working for your companies. Basically, get together, work together to find out a way to make sure that companies from border regions, in this case, can benefit to the most of this new solution that was put in place last December, but is being expanded. The range of services is being expanded. And by 2023, it's going to cover a range of services and also of procedures that can be completed online. So that means that for exporting things, goods, it will no longer be necessary to contact foreign authorities, but you will be able to do it all through the single digital gateway. And then another activity under the SME strategy is about closer collaboration with the Fit for Future platform. So Fit for Future platform is an advisory group that helps the Commission identify problems with legislation. So the platform advises the Commission on which pieces of legislation need to be simplified and where burdens are excessive. And this Fit for Future platform is a continuation of another advisory group that was called the REFIT platform. And it was recently, let's say it's a new group, but it follows in the footsteps of the REFIT platform. And it also underwent certain modifications, meaning that the composition of the platform has changed. And now it includes, I think, 3 representatives of the Committee of the Regions. So this is again a suggestion to you that whenever there is a piece of legislation that you think is particularly burdensome, and I think A1 form is something that keeps popping up in this context, in regions near the borders. Basically, you have 3 options, I think, to contact Fit for Future platform members. You may use an online form that lets you submit your ideas for improvement to the platform. You may get in touch with the representatives from the Committee of the Regions that sit on the platform. And you may also try to influence your national authorities who are also represented on the platform. Each member state has government representatives sitting on the platform to make them aware of your problems and present your solutions if you have any to offer. So I'm not going to go into access to finance matters because I think for that it's not necessarily specific to the regions, to the border regions. But of course, we're happy to provide you further information if you should need them. And with this, I think this completes my presentation, and I would like to introduce Janos. And well, basically, we have not agreed whether Janos would like to present the slides himself or would like me to continue presenting the slides. Janos, over to you. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Artur. If you were just so kind to help me with the slides, I think that's the easiest if it is already on your screen as well.
Very good. Of course, let's go.
So then I will just finish and present you, let's say, one major initiative that I'm hoping that you actually are already aware of. And I will wrap up with a pilot initiative. So we already heard the Enterprise Europe Network. What we aim with the network is that we will become the EU arm of the regional business support. This is our, let's say, objective. We have, of course, you might be also aware of our overall mission, which you can see here on the slide, to help SMEs to grow, innovate, and scale in the single market, but also internationally. So that actually captures the essence of the network. And on the next slide, you will see a bit more who we are and what we do and what are our results. You can see here that the Enterprise Europe Network is actually not just a European network. It is definitely a European network, but we are present in over 60 countries worldwide. That means that actually our third country partners are actually even higher in numbers than our EU partners. But you will have to also know, and I have to add immediately, that the third country partners, they finance their participation in the network fully themselves, except for those that are associated to the COSME program. And with this network that is actually phasing out this year, we cover actually pretty well the whole Europe, and beyond also that, in 600 locations. And we have around 3,000 staff working in the whole network. And on the left-hand side of the slide, you will see some client satisfaction rate, how SMEs really rated the services of the network, which is pretty high. And you can see quite impressive figures about a 2-year operational period of the network. This is the latest what I could find. The newest one will be published, I hope, very soon. But you can see that we have a quite good reach. Of course, if you remember at the first slide of Maarit with 23 million, of course, we reach around here in local events, some 300,000 SMEs in 2 years. But that's still very impressive, knowing that, of course, the network has to bring a EU added value to all the different measures that the governments or your authorities already implement at regional and national level. And that's, I think also a very key takeaway, that in the SME policy field, we have a very interesting competence according to the treaties. We do not have an exclusive competence like in the competition policy. We have a coordinating competence. And therefore, actually, all our actions really need to prove that they bring some EU added value. So on the next slide, you will see a very brief overview of who are our network partners. And then you will see here that our network partners, they are coming from a very broad, diverse landscape. You will find chambers of commerce, chambers of crafts, but you will find also regional development agencies, innovation agencies in the widest sense of this word. Of course, that has to do with the previous life of this network that was set up in this format in 2008. Before 2008, we had 2 networks at European level, the Innovation Relay Centers and the Euro Info Centers, and they were merged in 2008 to build the Enterprise Europe Network. But you have to note that we have a regional coverage. Every EN consortium, because we operate in consortia, that means up to, I don't know, the average size is around 5 partners at regional level that they form according to the bottom-up principle of consortium, and they apply to cover their region. Of course, in certain countries, they not only cover one specific NUTS2 region, but they cover the whole country. So, but that's pretty much for you as a quick snapshot. And on the next slide, you will see what we really provide through the Enterprise Europe Network partners. And here, the 3 different blocks as services for the network, maybe you already know, but I will probably repeat that these services are provided at an EN consortium level. So if you have 5 partners in a consortium, that does not mean that every single partner will provide the same services as you see here on the slide, but of course certain partners like innovation agencies will provide rather innovation support. Chambers will probably be more active in the advisory and the partnership building part of the service block. So that's just as a background information. And here for the blocks, you see the classical advisory support services that entail, for instance, advice on EU laws, standards, also market intelligence, IPR expertise, but more prominently access to funding. As we already heard, that is of course one key challenge. One of the key challenges every time we kind of survey SMEs, and here we will put even a much more emphasis onto this service also in future. And we use the network partners also to give us feedback from SMEs on different topics. So that's not only just a one-way channel, but also a two-way channel, how we use the network partners. The DNA of the network is still in the second block, which is the international partnership building, which is of course, which entails partnering services, matchmaking services, also to help to create consortia among SMEs to bid for a horizon call, for instance. And our brokerage events are also pretty well known and well visited. Here in the brackets you see on the slide B2B. Well, of course, that is the classical format, but we kind of see over the last years an evolution of this B2B concept, in a sense that, of course, SMEs have a different needs, not only business-to-business cooperation, but of course, business to the finance world, by business to investor events, or even beyond that. In the future network, we would like to see that this brokerage concept will also include, for instance, business to, previously the key enabling technology centers, now they are called advanced technology centers for industry, but for instance also the European digital innovation hubs, and that pretty much also in the interest of the border regions. If you have an SME just in your border region and specializing, for instance, in an artificial intelligence, and the next European digital innovation hub that will be the closest to that SME is just happens to be on the other side of the border, of course, they can still get there and get the testing facility of that hub beyond the border as well. Company missions, that is also a standard service that our network partners normally under the normal circumstances organize. We really hope that we can catch up with that after somehow we resume our normal life. And the third block, the innovation support, that includes technology transfer services. We started to provide specific innovation management services with the network in 2015. That entails classical innovation audits, but also with a certain methodology, which we call enhanced innovation management capacity building. That always looks at the innovation potential, innovation management approach of an SME, and that always closes with a detailed action plan. We provided with the network partners also key account management services for those SME instrument grantees that were successful. Of course, that is now phasing out, or the SME instrument has already phased out, but we are still providing the key account management services for the last grantees of the EIC pilot. And we also had a startup scale-up pilot in the network, only just focusing the different services to that particular set of SMEs. But that gives you, I think, a very good overview at a glance about the different building blocks of the network. And of course, I'm pretty sure, even if we did not have a very specific survey, how many of our network partners are really in border regions, but I'm pretty sure that since we have consortia, I can almost be sure, and I'm convinced that in almost every consortium we have at least one EN partner that is situated in a border region. So, and of course, therefore, the network services, they are available to all SMEs, regardless where they are located. So that's very important for them to know. Yes, I can always go to the closest network partner to me, and then I have actually access to all EEN services. So we also work with that one-stop shop principle. Still here about our regional role. We conducted a specific survey 2 years ago to see how our EEN teams are embedded in the regional programs, in the ERDF operational programs world. And we could see that the host organizations of the EENs, like chambers of commerce and innovation agencies, etc., they are very often even managing authorities. That was a nice surprise to see that here we have more than 10% of the EEN host organizations that are themselves managing authorities. One example, for instance, here in Flanders, the Flemish Agency for Innovation and Enterprises, they are not only host an EEN team, but at the same time, they also are the Flemish managing authority for the Flemish ERDF program. And 25% even are intermediate bodies. They are also very important. For instance, in Germany, we have the regional promotional banks very often implementing the financial instruments in the ERDF programs, and they are at the same time also our network partners. And 40% of our network partners are somehow represented in the different monitoring committees. And here we come also with the access to funding services. Around 2/3 of our EEN teams already include also ERDF finance measures into their access to funding consultation. Originally, at the very beginning of the network in 2008, we mainly focused this service on centrally managed EU funding opportunities like Horizon. But of course, we have seen also here a very positive evolution. For instance, of course, if you have an ERDF finance measure at your level, of course, the SMEs, of course, are best served if they also can be directed to those measures. And we published last year this kind of, if you go back for a second, Artur, please. On the right side, you see this brochure. There you see also the link where you can find this and download it, where we compiled already a very interesting set of good existing practices, how the network tools and network services enrich the whole ERDF world, also including Interact programs. I have seen that some of you are very much involved in Interact programs. There you will find how, for instance, EEN tools, matchmaking, for instance, have enriched or can enrich your Interact projects as well. So, and then we can move to the very last one, I think. No, yeah, just couple of words. As I just mentioned, we are phasing out the current network in its, let's say, second generation, and we are preparing and we are launching very soon the third generation that will go from 2022 to 2028. I briefly mentioned that we will see again a further evolution of this network. New services will be incorporated into network, namely those that will focus on the sustainable and digital transition. Artur already mentioned that we will provide through the network sustainability advisory services to help SMEs to also map out and scan, for instance, their potentials for more sustainable business models, and help them, of course, to set up also some action plan and to implement that. And the same goes also for the digital transition. While, of course, for the digital transition, we team up with the cluster organizations, and we team up at the same time also with the European Digital Innovation Hubs. We will build a kind of European working group among us, and then we will involve also our actors from the different regions to help us to really plan and oversee common joint actions on the ground that can take the form of many different joint activities. But that's everything in the making. But I think here we set the course into the right direction to really bring also our actors together. And that is also, from my point of view, very interesting. What we have seen all throughout the whole history of the network is that we brought together partners that probably previously didn't even talk to each other. Through our EU added value, practically, we kind of, I would say, even force them to cooperate with each other, really bring the whole ecosystem into a concerted action. This is what we would like to see also with our actions together with the clusters and the digital innovation hubs. And to finally wrap up, in the SME strategy, also as Artur mentioned, we have one interesting initiative only focusing on border regions in that sense. Here we are talking about a border regions pilot, as you see at the bottom of the slide. Therefore, there is no EU funding involved. What we give is actually just support and guidance to those border regions. And these are our target groups who have already experienced persisting obstacles for cross-border business activities. And they also have, on both sides of the border, they can prove that they are jointly committed to work towards solutions. And that all, of course, in the spirit of this bottom-up single market. We have this call open until the 15th of March. We have already launched last year also the first call. Of course, maybe the timing was not so appropriate last year amid all the COVID crisis measures that were planned. And so we received one good proposal. We will start with that border region already to work next week, but we still have room up to 4 others. So if you find the call text there, which is the call for expression of interest, interesting, what we expect is a 5-page application, which should set out the main cross-border challenges that you face, and then tell us really how serious these problems are. Maybe you can even give some figures about the impact of those obstacles, how you already probably tried to overcome those obstacles. In 5 pages, we kind of gave also a bit of structure, how you could structure these 5 pages. And then until the 15th of March, you have time to come up with that very brief proposal. And then we are looking now still to find 4 pioneer partnerships among border regions with whom we can work. Again, no EU funding involved, but we can give you support. We can facilitate your finding common solutions. That might be probably also just using more digital solutions, but can be also even go until you might even propose that the implementation, for instance, of the services directive in your country could be probably also changed. But of course, you have a huge range of different possibilities, and for this guidance, we will work together also with the colleagues who are actually in the lead of all these thematic areas that you will identify as obstacles. So, and I will stop here, but I think we will receive some questions or some feedbacks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maarit, Janos, and Artur. I think actually this was a master class, at least for me, on the different initiatives that you are developing related to SMEs. We really appreciate this. I can imagine that for our colleagues in EURADA, they know very well most of this, but for border regions, perhaps it's the first time, or at least for some of them. So they still need to digest all this information. And as I said at the beginning, those who are today listening will have also access afterwards to the video. We are going to share it with our colleagues. I hope you have no objection to that. Even your presentation. So because we would need probably another seminar in order to go deeper. So perhaps we will receive not too many questions today, but we will receive questions afterwards. So we will try to not to bombing you, but to gather all together. We will analyze them with our colleagues from EURADA. We'll try to produce something very concrete on the main questions, issues, etc. But I have listened all the time. Advice, support, advice. I think this is really the message. And this is back with networks, which are already running for a long time. A very interesting adaptation to the new realities, even towards the normal challenges, digitalization, sustainability, but also the new challenges arising from COVID. Really happy. I knew something about the pilot probably you are right. Last year, people, perhaps they were not so busy, but they were lost. And it was very difficult to implement it. We have found that instead of technical advisors, we needed psychologists last year in order to support, because there was clear depression all over Europe. But I think the message that you three have delivered today, especially to the business sector, so sensitive to the crisis, is very interesting. We are trying to push some more pilots. You know, we have two mantras in our association. First is there is life after Interreg. It's not only about Interreg, but sometimes Interreg funding don't let us see the forest. And the second mantra is it is not only about money. It is about advice. Perhaps you can get your funds if you are well equipped. And all these initiatives to support, to make networks, meta networks, and even to create pilot actions in cross-border areas can only be welcomed by us. I hope that there will be also a reaction by submitting more proposals. We are already talking with EURADA about the possibility of pushing a little bit in some specific areas. And even I have got, last week, I got some feedback from this organization that was the only one getting the pilot. We know them very well. It's a group of ladies very active in the Pyrenees, if I guess, at the Franco-French-Spanish border, where they have a very particular border with a lot of implications. A small place, but with a lot of crossings and SMEs and whatever. We love that area because it's really, really dynamic cross-border engine. I also would like to stress the role of chambers. You have said that several times. You know, we have border regions, which are the regional governments, but also cross-border regions, which are Euro regions, EGTCs, etc. But especially in some parts of Europe, like in Germany, there is a strong involvement of chambers of commerce in all the activities of the Euro regions. And then we have Greece, where we have 4 members, 4 Greek chambers, because actually they were behind some of the Euro regions doing projects and business between Greece and Bulgaria, and even Greece. We will listen later on Anthi from Santhi, who is going to tell us a bit about that. I don't see questions by now. I'm looking at if there is any hand, because there was a time for getting some questions. Otherwise, as I said, we will gather perhaps some questions on the end. We will gather afterwards. We will get in contact with you. We really love to keep in contact with you. And now I would like also to pass the floor to Esteban, because yes. Sorry, we're supposed to co-moderate. Huh?
Being co-moderator, I'm going to take the advantage to ask a couple of questions. So one of the first things that I learned, because I know that the openness of the service of the European Commission trying to identify barriers. And I have a question specifically for Artur regarding the Fit for Future platform, and because he has given us an idea of what are the main channels to address the difficulties that may arise, and I am sure that they work. But I wonder if he could give us an example about that. And I have a second question for Janos Schmied about the pilot for border regions. As Martín Guillermo said, sometimes it's even more important the reflection process and the support that we could have as regional practitioner from the European Commission than the funds. And I think this pilot call is really interesting because will help 2 or 3 regions that are border to reflect among themselves. Could you please elaborate more about the support services that could get the 4 or 5 partnerships that are going to be selected? Because I think it will be important. Thank you very much to both of you.
No, sure. I mean, in our first call last year, we wanted to focus only on cross-border service provision and on those hampering factors and obstacles that border region experience. And then, of course, not only just because we have seen that, last year we only received 1 proposal, which is, by the way, very good. But we have seen also that there are still still persisting obstacles also in cross-border trade in normal goods, not only in services. That was also a second reason why we extended now also the scope of this call. We give you already a bit of what we call focal areas in which we see the most challenges, but of course you should not take them as prescriptive, as a prescriptive list. You still are free to propose any other obstacle that you experience. So on the example, for instance, with our first border region, they have now identified professional qualification and certifications as one of the key issues. Of course, what we will do, we will listen to them. Of course, in 5 pages, and especially that point is only just one of the 5 points, you will not receive a very fully fledged description. So we will use the first meeting, for instance, to really understand what are the underlying problems in this field. We will invite, of course, our colleagues in DG GROW who are working on this topic because they are dealing with the, let's say, the single market acquis, with the single market legislation in this field of professional qualifications and certifications. And we will start a dialogue to see and dig further how, for instance, those problems have already been detected in other border regions. How have, for instance, the same problems, for instance, solved in other border regions. So that is also a kind of, to a certain extent, peer-to-peer learning, facilitating the common finding of solutions. But the colleagues, of course, can listen and can come up with some interesting proposals, how the border regions partners can really, they will probably have not only detected the problems, they probably have started to maybe find solutions, but how we can facilitate their joint solutions finding. So that's everything what we can offer. Of course, that means no real funding for that, but of course support and guidance in a very cooperative spirit, giving them some really a structured support. So this is what we can promise, this is what we can do, and this is what we aim to do.
Artur, do you have any examples of the Fit for Future that could inspire us about what are the things that deal in this platform and could help us to understand properly the type of barriers that they are addressing?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's difficult to have exact examples about Fit for Future because this is a new platform, and it's being set up for the term of this commission. So it's being set up now, but it follows in the footsteps of the REFIT platform, which was set up in 2015. I mean, there are certain modifications regarding how the platform works. And the main modification this time around is that Fit for Future platform is going to work with an annual work program. That means that the platform members is in collaborating with several stakeholders. One of the stakeholders is, of course, the Commission. Another of the stakeholders is the SME Envoy network. And together, based on the inputs from several sides, they are establishing this work program for the year ahead. And this is the main areas of action on which they want to focus. Of course, there's also a way for the public to contribute to how this work program is being established, and it's called Have Your Say portal. It's an online portal where basically everybody can submit a suggestion for improvement. So this had already been the case for the REFIT platform. It was already the basis on which the REFIT platform was working in the past. It's being a little bit rebalanced because of the fact that European legislative period, it's let's say a slow moving machine given the number of stakeholders and how legislative proposals are being redone, refitted, and well, basically updated. It takes some time. So basically, this new way of working with the work program is supposed to give more structure to this process, but still everybody can contribute to those ideas. I mean, I think we're now at the moment when our colleagues in Secretariat General are finalizing the work program for this year, because the Fit for Future platform was set up only in December, if I'm correct, last year. So this is their first work program. And SME envoys were consulted on which elements to submit. So this was this of course does not mean that this is a closed process. I mean, this is a closed process of setting up the work program for this year, but there are next year programs coming up, and the opportunity to give insights is always open. Maybe one more thing. On the REFIT platform, all the submissions to this, it's called Have Your Say portal. If you would like, I can provide you with the link, but the submissions to this portal are transparently being published. So you can see which previous submissions were made to the platform. And also the platform was regularly reporting on the recommendations made to the Commission. So in a way, you would be able to find all the examples there, and they are grouped by area, like chemicals or agri, and that's where the platform is reporting. I will look up those things and I will provide them to you and to Martin, so that you can distribute basically this information to the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really amazing. I would like to highlight there is a question in the chat that was already answered, but could be of interest for others. There was a question about if these pilots are only really cross-border or they can be transnational, so with non-direct related people across the border. The answer was that no, this is really cross-border. But I can imagine that there are other chances for other type of networking, more transnational, etc. And actually, as AEBR, we welcome very much that there is a focus on cross-border. What we really are not very happy that there has been not so much interest. But okay, we said already that really COVID was creating a lot of trouble. Let's see now. We are going to push it a little bit. We still have 6 weeks, and I know there are cases, so we'll go that. Thank you, Esteban, also for raising these questions, and because I think it's going to clarify the issue. Let's see if with this hides the spirit of the troop on that. Thanks a lot. I don't see further questions, so I think we can move on to the second part of the meeting. I'm enjoying very much that I have to. We have several interventions, so I have to ask the next speakers to be brief, to concentrate on the issues. But anyway, we are not putting a clear limit of timing. I think you will see how this runs. As we have divided into 2 projects where we are involved. The first one was not possible to get today, the lead partner, but we have Annika Janso, who is our expert, and actually she's the one following the project. And this is addressed to SMEs, internationalization of SMEs in border regions. And here again, we are concentrating within the EU. In the second project, which is an ESPON project, BAS-DIV, we are concentrating on the external borders of the EU, because we are talking all the time about the EU, but the AEBR has also members outside the EU. So it's not only our little wall within the European Union, but also at the external borders and our partners beyond, in Ukraine, in Russia, in Turkey, etc. So even if we are talking very much about the EU, you will see that a couple of interventions are going also to make reference to our neighbors, it's also very important for us and especially for them. So without any more introduction on this, I will give the floor to my colleague Annika Janso to let us know a bit more about interventions. Annika, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Martin. Hello, everybody. It's very nice to see that there are so many of us listening to this forum that we have. And I think you can see now my slides. Yes, I will make them a bit bigger. And then we can start. So now we have been a year and a half in this project called Interventures. And this project is all about the making the small and medium enterprises in the cross-border regions to go international. And the project was initiated because even though we have the single market and SMEs working in the border regions, actually there are not so many SMEs in the border regions that have links with the neighboring countries. So usually only the SMEs in the centers have this rather globalized businesses. And even though the internationalization of SMEs is a key influencing factor for the prosperity of the region, the SMEs in the border regions are not so capable. So this is why we developed this project named Interventures. And I would like to show you a small video. This picture is made on the border between the Netherlands and the Belgium. There is a border region or town called Baarle-Nassau, Baarle-Hertog, where the border crosses the town and even the border crosses some houses. So as you can see, also this cafeteria is not international or crossing the border. It stays strictly on the Dutch side of the border. So let's see if we can see the video.
Ventures is on a mission to connect the border regions.
Can you hear the video?
While promoting the internationalization of small and middle enterprises.
We can hear, but we cannot see it.
Okay, I will try to.
Videos are always challenging in Zoom, you know.
Yes.
Now it is.
Good. Let's try again.
Welcome to Interventures. Interventures is on a mission to connect the border regions while promoting the internationalization of small and middle enterprises. It consists of 9 main players from 5 different European Union regions. All players will fight for one mission on their own quests, sharing experiences, learning from each other, lifting the invisible walls, and changing the existing policy instruments. Let's take a closer look. Round 1. At this stage, our heroes will face some moderate challenges, which help them identify their weaknesses and strengths. By the end of round 1, some points will be gained, skills improved, and the new goals will be set, so that our players will be ready to move to the next level where the real action awaits. At the start of round 2, partners will be ready to set a plan in motion. A step-by-step, tailor-made action plan in each region will lead to the real prize. Desired improvements of SME internationalization processes. Now, let's play for real, shall we? Check out Interventures. Choose your quest. Help find the best way to contribute to SMEs' growth and increased competitiveness.
So I will now put back my slides. So this is a short video about the project. So as it was said also in the video, we have 5 partners from different regions, Hungary, Italy, Poland, Spain, and Lithuania. The project duration is all in all 3 years, and AEBR acts as an advisory partner. And the main aim is to promote the internationalization of SMEs. And we do it in different ways. What I wanted to talk actually about today a bit more closely are the good practices that we are sharing. So one part of this action is we look at each other's practices and we try to look at the policy instruments of each partner. And we try to adapt the good practices of the other partners into the policy instruments so that the policy instruments will support the internationalization of the SMEs of the particular region or country. And as you can see, the good practices, we collected 3 practices from each partner. And these are some examples of these practices. As you can see, there are not so many grants or financial support to the SMEs. There were only 2 which are supporting directly or financially the internationalization of SMEs. One is the non-refundable grant dedicated to the Hungarian-Croatian border. And there is also developed a financing tool to improve the capacities of the SMEs for internationalization, and it was developed in Spain. More, the good practices are talking about the non-financial support, as also the previous presenters were talking about that. In most of the times, actually, the SMEs are lacking rather the knowledge than the money to go international. And as you can see from the list of non-financial support, there are the incubations, supports, training and counseling, to provide the framework, to provide the network, to provide the working places for the SMEs. So actually also what we saw from the policy instruments and during the discussions with partners then, that the non-financial support works much better and is much more needed than the financial support. This is usually the projects stay within the circle of the project, even though there are web pages and we upload the information. So I always share this slide when I present the Interventures project to show that actually the border regions can also benefit from our project because we worked out methodologies to how to engage the stakeholders in strategy development or action plan development, how to share the knowledge among the partners, among the stakeholders, how to conduct the regional situation analysis to know what is going on in your region with the SMEs, and how to create an action plan, how to implement your knowledge to address the needs of the local SMEs. And they are all uploaded in the Interreg web page under the Interventures. Also, we uploaded the regional situation analysis there as an examples, which the border regions that are interested in this can see. Also, there are the good practices are uploaded in the web page. I try to see if I can again share this. Just a moment. With the Zoom, it's a bit complicated to share different things. I will see. So you can see the web page of our project. And as you can see in here, there are many the good practices that we developed during this project, the descriptions of these good practices. And you can read more about them, and you can find the contacts if it's needed to contact the people to have more information about these good practices. So I hope you are seeing my screen, the slides.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So that's very quickly about our project. And if you have any questions, then please ask me. And after this seminar, if you have questions, then I think also Martin can answer you if you contact him or me. So thank you for the attention, and I'm open for the questions.
Thank you very much, Annika, for putting in a nutshell the details on the project. There will be, we will have a brief space for questions also at the end of the session. And now, thanks a lot. And now we will jump into what we talked before, the external borders, which is also drawing our attention. And we are very happy to take part in this very interesting project with the well-known organization Special Foresight, where we have been working in a couple of other things. And now I will give the floor to two persons. Iveta Malina Tabone, she's the head of the Latgale Planning Region Administration, and she's the stakeholder of the BUS Dev project. And also Sandra Spule from Special Foresight, who is following directly the management and methodologies of this project. So Iveta and Sandra, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Martin, and actually, hello from Riga. And from my side, I would like to thank you a lot of Association of European Border Regions for this opportunity to address the community of regional development experts, as well as PON EGTC for support in bringing together the necessary evidence on the territorial development at the EU external border. Of course, with no doubt, regions at the EU external border have strategic importance. For greater security and cohesion, these regions need people and healthy communities, including SMEs and business communities. Where private capital sees this region and disadvantages due to proximity to the EU border and peripheral location at the national context, public policies are needed to leverage these negative effects. The regions at this targeted analysis, as well as many others of the external border, feel left behind. There is a sentiment that they are constantly deprived and their human capital as well other assets which flee to more advantageous regions, and there is no adequate compensation mechanism. And actually results of this target analysis have provided that in order to strengthen the regional business and potential of EU external border. Firstly, only place-based and flexible interventions targeting a regional business can effectively provide prompt responses to their various needs and allow for private investment attractions, and especially SMEs, of course. Such interventions should ideally be a part of EU Central Managed Development Support Program for EU external border regions. And of course, it is necessary to continue existing NECBC programs. Secondly, strategic investments need to be made in the regions via integrated territorial investment type activities bundled in separate financial envelope. Of course, ideally, regional operational programs targeting economic development at the EU external border have to be introduced within the framework of the national European structural and investment support. I hope that also partly thanks to this analysis, as well as outreach activities such as this workshop, our voice will be heard by respective decision makers. Let me once again express my gratitude to the Association of European Border Regions for this excellent opportunity to address the audience. And of course, thank you that you are partners in our project as well. And I hope we could work together in EU external border issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Iveta. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sandra Spule, and for the last year, I was managing the targeted analysis that Iveta Malina Tabune presented. She and her organization was the lead stakeholder in the project. Besides Lithuanian and Romanian partners, and our host of today's seminar, Association of European Border Regions, to whom we send big thanks for this opportunity to share our results of the project. As you can read from the title of our analysis, it was devoted to EU external, but specifically terrestrial land borders in the east. And I must say that we started our analysis just before the COVID crisis, and our main work went on when the crisis kind of evolved without knowing what consequences will it bring to the regions. So though we spoke today, especially in the beginning of this seminar, a lot about this crisis and how it has hit the SMEs, we cannot yet provide any results on that from our analysis. But what I can say definitely is that what you will also see from my brief presentation is that well, in fact, SMEs at the EU external borders, they are more or less already used to living and working under pretty much extraordinary conditions, even BC, before Corona, simply because where for internal borders, we can speak and we see and we try to untap a lot of opportunities. So where there are opportunities seen within the internal borders of common market, the SMEs at the external borders see fences. They see a few border control points and customs with complicated procedures for flow of goods, people, etc. So let me share with you at the beginning this picture and kind of give a brief virtual tour to the external border. This map was made by my colleague, that Spatial Foresight, just before this analysis on the external borders, and it is available on the following website, and it was meant to give an evidence and indication on how the regions in the Europe are developing and providing a comparative overview. Sorry, I have cut only the eastern part to show the eastern border, but it exists on all the regions, all NUTS 2 level regions of the Europe. So it was, as I said, meant as an evidence working on the territorial agenda 2030. What you can see here are the regions categorized by how they develop. And it's been an annual growth of income per capita in 10 years from 2006 to 2016 that is compared with internally within the country, seeing where the regions grow and catch up and where the regions are left behind. And from what we can see and from what we could see if also the Baltic countries would be properly colored, is that most of the regions at the EU external border have this dark brown color, meaning that they are left behind, meaning that their growth, economic growth, is far behind the front runners and even those who are losing the pace. Here you can see also marked with red the regions that were in focus for our targeted analysis. And if Latvia and Lithuania would be colored properly, then the our focus regions, not 3 regions, would be also colored dark brown. It's only because and I can speak here for Latvia. Latvia positions itself as a whole, not a 2 region for European cohesion policy, and therefore it very rarely the regions, the actual regions and internal disparities, which are the 3rd highest among the OECD countries, rarely are reflected in the studies. However, of course, in the country, the situation is well known. So having said that, we had gotten inspiration from this map. So we looked closer to the regions, to our stakeholder territory regions in Latvia, Lithuania, and Romania, and tried to examine 2 hypotheses that were set forward on the beginning when we started the analysis. So that the first one is about the effects that the border has on the regional development, and the second one was about what actual business support measures work in these border areas and which have lesser effects. Zooming in to the respective regions in focus, here you can see that on the other side of the border, these regions have Russia, Belarus, and Moldova. And all the regions that we looked are also inner peripheries in the context of their own member countries, and have significantly lower overall socio-economic development indicators. Well, in fact, the region that EURADA represents is competing from year to year with a region in Bulgaria to be the least developed in the whole EU. So the key objective of our analysis was to see how is the business environments in these regions, and how the existing business policies work there. Do they have an actual impact, and what effects would it have? I must say that even though that our study partly covers 5 out of 16, not 2 regions located at the most eastern EU external border, of course, our analysis cannot fully represent the situation along the whole EU external borderline. And moreover, because our stakeholder regions are peripheral in the territorial context of their own countries, this probably defines their situation to a greater extent than the proximity to the EU border. But nevertheless, it must be said, of course, that their backwardness at the moment is also very much exacerbated by this proximity of the border, simply because it disrupts the economic space. And maintaining business competitiveness and is a permanent challenge in these areas, as it reflects also in a lower overall entrepreneurship, in comparatively lower productivity and other economic indicators. And it must be said that that at least in the eastern regions of the Baltic countries, what we found is also kind of a new type of social entrepreneurship, having said that, I mean that some of the representatives of businesses that we interviewed simply said that they feel a mission, kind of a mission to work, to do some business in the area. Otherwise, the area would be completely abandoned with no activity at all. So it's already a social type of business going on. And as a matter of fact, the most precious asset of these regions, which is human capital, keeps fleeing from the region and leaving these regions in a downward spiral. So, but what does a border has as an effect, and what can it have for any future development? To investigate this, we did what we call the multidimensional border reality assessment. So we analyzed from 4 important dimensions: political, physical, economic, and socio-cultural dimension, how it affects or does not affect businesses over the border. And here you can see a map where we disclosed the border either closing or opening effects, whereas closing are marked red and opening green. And I will explain what we see here, but before I will say that we found that this inventory is an important element and should be probably be done along the whole border to see where the potential is lying, and to be prepared for this. And I'm saying this because last year we witnessed 2 important events that might and that will definitely have an effect on our stakeholder territories. And one of these was in Belarus, and the other was in Moldova. I come back to it in my next slide. So summing up, EU external border does not have any decisive advantages for our stakeholder territories. Rather, as said, maybe it's this disadvantage in certainly in some extra mile that businesses have to make to get their goods to their markets, which mostly now are within the single market or elsewhere, not to the Eastern, with exceptions. And these exceptions rely on, first of all, on the social cultural dimension, where we saw that in Romanian area with Moldova, due to their strong shared identity, whatever the political dimension is, there is certain flow of capital, of labor, and businesses happen. However, they are largely also dependent on the dominating political course of the societies on the other border. And so for Moldova, with their new pro-European president, there are opportunities to be seen, also to be uptaken by the border region, whereas for the stakeholder regions to the Belarus border, of course, there is also a hope that the situation in Belarus will develop into into a positive scenario. However, meanwhile, we already see Belarus investments fleeing Belarus and trying to settle down wherever is most convenient, most proximate to them. Already before Belarus contested presidential elections, we saw investments in the stakeholder territory in Latvia, maybe little ones, but important, even in high-tech areas, because Belarus people wanted safe haven from the dictatorship. And I also enjoy single market opportunities. Now with even more investments fleeing, well, the countries, the regions, well, theoretically have to be ready to host them. And I think in that respect, Lithuanian capital region of Vilnius is now gaining very well. So to cut it short now, as for the policies, what we saw and what we worked, definitely, as Iveta already said, these have to be place-based and very flexible, because situation, as we also witnessed last year, can change and change quite quickly. And it is very often that the programs that we also heard in the very beginning of this seminar, that the time it takes for them to cascade down to the regions, like our stakeholder territories, they probably are not able to solve the needs that are urgent, let's say, that are topical for them at the respective moment. However, of course, also these options are being examined in the regions. And last but not least, at least what we see in Latvian stakeholder territory, these are special economic zones with important tax pavements that also do work and could attract investments. So these are the main points also that we have summarized in the recommendations of our study, which will be finalized soon in next week, I hope, and then published also on ESPON website. And overall, what we would like to serve this analysis is not only to get our voice heard with regards to what business support works and not, but just to gain a special attention on the external land borders from EU and the national governments, and recognize them as an important and strategic areas. Thanks a lot for your attention, and you're welcome to ask me and Iveta questions if you have.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you very much, Iveta. Well, we had the chance to discuss some weeks ago. Yeah, these recommendations are not really a surprise for us, but now we have a backup or backing of our arguments, and really we are using all of this to make our lobby, to talk, even to increase the moral of the partners in external border areas, etc. It has been really a pleasure to work with you. And I hope that we can capitalize on these findings in order to ameliorate the conditions for the external borders of the EU. Thank you very much. And now, now we will go to hybrid. We have this one of the favorite regions, northeastern Greece, where we have several very interesting, very good partners. One of them is Amphi, where we have been working in many things. And she will share with us now the vision from the Chamber of Commerce, which has a border and business with Bulgaria and with Turkey. So you can imagine the old challenges, the new challenges, and the future ones. So Amphi, the floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. It's really nice to see you, Martin, and of course to participate in this workshop with all of you. I will try to share now my presentation. So we are talking about, we are partners, of course, in AEBR. We are participating as Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Xanthi. Xanthi is located in the north part of Greece. It belongs to the region of East Macedonia and Thrace. And we have borders with Bulgaria and with Turkey. As chamber, I would like to say that the chamber established in 1955, and of course the mission of this chamber is to support their members. And another things that we are doing is that we participate in EU project. During this period we are running 10 projects, such as of course either a cross border with Bulgaria, Black Sea project, 2 COSME project, the 2 focuses on SMEs, and of course Adriatic Ionian project. My presentation will be, let's say, a little bit different than the others. So Thrace borders, we have the borders with Bulgaria in the north part, and Turkey, the European part of Turkey to the east, at a distance of 400 kilometers is the capital of Bulgaria, Sofia, and 300 kilometers on the east is the largest city in Turkey, Constantinople, with more than 15 million inhabitants. I would like to continue about the cross-border relation between both countries and some what kind of cooperation that we have. The cross-border relations with between Greece and Bulgaria. Bulgaria has traditionally been in recent decades an important trading partner of our country in the Balkans, as well as an investment destination, initially small and medium, and then large and multinational green companies and groups. The significant economic presence of Greece in Bulgaria is reflected in the long-term growth in bilateral trade, but also in the strong presence of Greek companies established here, which are estimated to contribute to the growth of Bulgarian GDP with a share of 5.16% of the total reserve of foreign direct investment. In the general ranking of foreign direct investment, Greece is among the 6 most important foreign investors. So we can see that many countries, especially starting with 10 years ago, from 20 years ago, they lived from here and go to establish a new company in Bulgaria. Of course, due to the taxations and many other difficult and so different situations that we have. So in recent 2018, the volume of bilateral trade between Greece and Bulgaria reached the highest level of the decade, reaching about 3.5 billion euros. In recent years, the tourist flows between the 2 countries have maintained a special dynamic, and in 2018, the number of Bulgarian visitors to Greece exceeded all previous one, exceeding 1.4 million, according to the National Statistical Institution. Similarly, the influx of Greek tourists in Bulgaria was very high, reaching about 1.3 million visitors. What is happening now between the relations between Greece and Turkey? Turkey is one of our most important trading partners, as it is the 4th most important destination of Greek exports, but also the 9th most important country of origin of important products in the Greek market. For Greek companies and especially for trade, the Turkish market has become quite attractive since it's more easily accessible. Turkey has become one of the most valuable markets for Greek products since it's ranked in the top 6 countries where Greek exports are directed. What are the differences between our neighbors countries? Greece is a member, of course, of the European Union, participating in is a Eurozone member, and the currency that we have is the euro. Bulgaria is a European member, and the currency is in Bulgarian leva. Turkey is a EU accession member, currency is in Turkish lira. So you can see from this part that the many differences they are appearing at the same time. So there are 2 borders. 2 cross points of the border with Turkey, and 3 of the borders with Bulgaria. This helps road access between the 3 countries in combination with short distances between major cities, help the development of entrepreneurship. Companies can reach potential consumers from neighboring countries and consumers to benefit from advantage of each country. You can see here the border area, the cross-border area from Greece between Bulgarian borders, and of course the different kind of borders between Greece and Turkey. Advantage for Greek companies. About industry, industrial enterprises have the ability to sell their product in neighboring countries by providing high-quality products of European origin, of course, in the part of the market that is willing to pay and to buy them. Cheap raw materials can also be purchased mainly from Turkey, but also from Bulgaria. What is happening with tourists? They offer to the Bulgarians mainly, but also the Turks, the opportunity to spend summer holidays in Greek resorts, often offer Greeks, economically and with minimal travel cost. Also, days of road access is a reason for tourists all year round, even for a weekend. But in primary section, these companies can supply low-priced agriculture or livestock products from neighboring countries and then process them. Advantage for Turkish companies. According to industry, they have the ability to sell their products in neighboring countries by providing low prices. Due to low labor cost and local currency exchange rates, of course. According to tourists, they offer mainly summer vacation packages in neighboring countries with very attractive prices. In retail, the low price of the Turkish lira against the euro attracts thousands of consumers from Bulgaria and Greece for shopping, even for one-day visits. What is happening about the advantage for Bulgarian companies? According to industry, they have the ability to sell their products in neighboring countries by providing low prices due to low labor costs. For tourists, they offer weekend vacation packages, mainly in the neighboring countries with very attractive prices and attracting thousands of Greeks and Turks. Retail, the low price of the Bulgarian leva, comparing to Europe, but also the low taxation, attracts thousands of consumers. For Greece, for shopping, even for one day. We can imagine that the borders from here is about 30 minutes. Opportunities for joint partnership. Opening borders and easy access between the 3 countries help creating common partnerships. For example, a tour operator for Bulgaria with hotel business from Thasos Island. Thasos is an island which is half an hour from here. Create a Greek mixed standardization company for the production of gourmet products for eco-complex of bungalows. All traders create a company in something with the port of Central European countries. Greek companies manufacture aluminum frames, create a company in southern Bulgaria with a local manufacturer of windows that has a safe network to take advantage of low labor costs and reduce taxes. So you can see in this presentation that we have that is, let's say, totally different from the Central Europe, the conditions that we have and what we have to face in everyday life. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alfie. Now we can put faces and places to the things we are talking about. Thanks a lot. Well, I will pass the floor to my co-moderator, Esteban. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Martin. We are going to have 2 experiences from regional development now. First from Germany and later from Croatia. The first one is from Lower Saxony, and we have the privilege to have here Dieter Meyer, which is the founder of Dieter Meyer Consulting, and he's going to explain us good examples of collaboration between Lower Saxony and the Dutch border regions that they have close to them. Dieter, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Esteban, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me, and hello to all of you. I will try to share my presentation. What I understood is to give some practical examples on how SME support is done in our border region here in the very north of Germany, close to the Netherlands. I will focus on the Emstollert region. So this is the northern part, this is our region. And you see on the western part, the Netherlands with 3 provinces, and on in the east, the German districts and independent cities, overall 17. And as you can see, we are quite a large region in German terms. So with almost 3 million inhabitants overall, and the size which is more than half of Belgium. So that's one of the challenges we have to deal with when trying to support SMEs. So for us, due to this large region, and it's a rural region, we have a lot of different administrative levels, as you can see, and they all have their own instruments to assist SMEs. The common thing for the whole region is the Interreg project. So for us, Interreg is very important in SME support, especially in, of course, in cross-border SME support. And so for us, the Interreg A program has absolutely the right size for the level of support, for the level of need the SMEs have. So only to have a figure in mind, in total, only looking at the German part, we have more than 90,000 micro companies. So it's quite a challenge to address them, to identify them. And that's why cooperation is quite important for all of us. My company, we are assisting the different German districts here, and even assisting the cross-border region in developing the programs and implementing the programs. So if I give you just a taste, just one slide about the company. We are working in the region since the early 90s, and we are a permanent staff of 18. You see the gender approach is well done here. Yeah, we are just committed really to the region and the key needs of the SMEs. Nevertheless, most of our customers are public, and the share of the private companies, whenever we work for them, then mainly we are paid by the public, by the districts. So just as a very short view at the company, who we are. Now, when looking at the SME support, then I ask myself what could be interesting for you, because there's a large variety of different measures which are taken here. So I thought in a step-by-step selection process, I will concentrate on innovation support out of Interreg Priority 1. And of course, projects which have been assisted by us actively. Then the third criterion was to look at the sectors which are most important for our region and for our rural area. So it's food, it's the maritime sector, as we are close to the North Sea. And of course, rural area also means tourism is quite a strong element of business development in the region. And as we are talking about the role of agencies, of regional development agencies. Of course, I thought of selecting different kinds of agencies. So it's not us who do all the work here, of course, but due to the size of the region, we have quite a lot of different agencies on the Dutch and on the German parts. So I selected the different kinds of agencies we have. And another criterion was to select projects which have a wide range of partners. Many of them are SMEs, but others are regional development agencies. And finally, the criterion is I didn't want to look at mayflies. It's just a question of sustainable activities which permanently assist the SMEs in our region. So where did we end up? We ended up at these 3 projects, which I will present very, very briefly. From the food sector, this is a scientific approach, the Food 2020 project. Then we have from the maritime sector, it's more business driven. The lead partner is the Maritime Center of Competence in our region, and more or less public approach for the tourism sector is the project Watten Agenda, dealing with the Wadden Sea in our region, which is world heritage, nature heritage, and it's important for the region. So looking briefly at these 3 projects. So on the one hand, Food 2020, it's a framework project, and this may be interesting for you because it is a project for projects. We applied, or the lead partner applied for money from Interreg, and made his own support program, which offered a lot of money just for single projects applied by SMEs. So this makes it easier for the SMEs to have a low administrative burden. This is done all by the project partners, and to get easy access. And looking at the outcomes, you see they supported almost 20 projects with between 135,000 to 270,000 euros per project, requiring 2 or 3 partners, and dealing with different aspects of the topics. So food safety, sustainable food, healthy food, social innovation. You can find all the details on the website. So for me, most important is this is a project, or this is an approach where we try to lower the barriers for the SMEs to cooperate, to do product development by having this framework project, so it should be easy to handle. Looking at the second project, Maarit Green. So it's a set of projects to develop maritime innovations in green technology. You see, it's a bigger project with a wide participation of SMEs, dealing with all the present topics, more or less the buzzwords in green maritime technologies. And you see the range is wide, from safety activities, from hydrogen projects, and very practical projects. This is not a framework project like Food 2020, where the partners acquired money and then spend it under own responsibility for the SMEs' needs. In this case, the Center of Competence brought together different institutions, different organizations, and as such projects then, and supported them jointly. And now looking at the third, so I was told I have 10 minutes. I'll try to stick to the time schedule. The third project, the Watten agenda, so to promote tourism in the ecosystem of Wardensee is the main objective. And in this project, it's not a cooperation of projects, but it's a cooperation of tourism development agencies. So the first one, food, was general development agencies. The second one was bringing together projects of a certain topic. And this one is to bring organizations which assist the SMEs then without involving them too much in personally. Of course, they were involved in the different measures, as you can see from the outcomes. They benefited from the marketing activities, from the communication activities, and things like that. So these three projects, they all had the opportunity, they had the objective to assist, to improve the work of the SMEs. They all have the common approach to promote cooperation and build a kind of platform. And from our experience, this is a crucial element to provide assistance to SMEs in such a large region with so many very small regions. Okay, so within my 10 minutes, the last slide, and that's the message I would like to give. We are convinced that, of course, if you are in a hurry, if you want to go fast, do it on your own, decide on your own. But if you want to go far, and that's the challenge for us in this region, then you have to go together. And so we have all these different cooperation projects in different kinds. And I can only say that for us and for our target group, Interreg, even then in the future Interreg 6, will be the main element of business promotion. All the other things are nice, but Horizon for an SME, that's another world. So the practical work is here, and maybe I don't mean it as a critical remark, but the Enterprise Europe network is nice, but it's the center of our Enterprise Europe network is 200 kilometers away from the border. And this is a distance which is not very suitable to SMEs. Okay, so you're welcome to ask questions. Anyway, the presentation may give the link to the different projects if you are interested in more detail. And again, I'm open to answer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for the excellent presentation, as always, Dieter. I can confirm that this entity and the different districts on the Lower Saxony are open for collaboration, because we are partners of them in several Interreg Europe projects, and it is very useful for the other regions to share experience with them. And thank you as well for the presentation, because you gave 3 specific examples, very illustrative, and not only speak on the collaboration, but one on food, another one on maritime, and the one on tourism are applicable for different regions. We will have a question at the end of the session. Now we go to Croatia. We will have a presentation from the Regional Development Agency from Caprina Zagorje. Ms. Elena Matusha will present us as Assistant Managing Director, the Development Agency and what is doing to support SMEs in her territory. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can see the presentation perfectly.
Yes. Hello to everyone. Thank you, dear Esteban, for inviting us to present our good practice examples. After seeing Dieter's presentation, I will try to follow on even more concretely on what we do here in the Krapina-Zagorje County, that is the cross-border region with Slovenia. I would like to start with some facts. I know that we've been involved a lot globally with the pandemic. So we as the region are a member of the World Business Angel Investment Forum, and the WBAF performed a survey among 77 world states. And these were the results on the question that was raised: how would you rate the government's response to the pandemic? And when we saw the results, although they were global, here at the Krapina-Zagorje County, we definitely focused on ourselves to see how we as the public government can support concretely the startups and SMEs in our region and connect them internationally, so that we can somehow maybe lower the responses that the government's response was very poor or poor. I would like to now talk about the development agency. We're definitely public agency, public institution established by the region. We focus on strategic planning, project development, and project implementation, regardless of the sources of funding of public projects. And also some of the values that we nurture within the team and also try to communicate outside with our clients is definitely inclusion, diversity, and creativity that fosters innovation. If any of our colleagues listening to us today would ask themselves, why would you like to cooperate with Krapina-Zagorje County, or Zagorje Development Agency, I would definitely say that we have been around on the market of the Krapina-Zagorje region here in Croatia for more than 15 years. Most of our life in the development agency, we've been working both with public and private sector, 2/3 of those 15 years. Recently, in the past 3 years, we have oriented exclusively to the public sector. In the period from 2007 until 2019, within the region, there were more than 13,000 projects implemented that were supported by the EU funds. So there was an inflow of more than 45 million euro worth of projects, and we as the development agency supported at least 35% of them. Also, when we are talking about the strategic development or strategic planning, we are the main point in the region where we develop the development plan for the region for the next programming period. And also we are leading all sectoral development plans for the region or their institutions, but also we are the main contact point with the national level and even the international level when it comes to strategic planning. We also try to position ourselves internationally, because we think and we deeply believe that by cooperating together internationally, we can, like this event, we can exchange good practice examples and bring it here to the region. So we are an active member of the management committee of Central Europe program, the cross-border program for Slovenia and Croatia. Also, we are the part of the management committee of the Alps-Adriatic Alliance. And also, as I said at the beginning, we are the member of the World Business Angel Investment Forum. Currently, we are a team of 20 people. When Dieter was mentioning the gender equality, we are 18 women and two proud men amongst us, yes. And the average age is 35. So definitely there is no reason for us not to be innovative, creative, and courageous. And more we want to learn from more experienced ones. Also, when when Esteban called and asked, could you please give an overview what you are doing and how can you present what is needed in the cross-border region. And as I said at the beginning, Krapina-Zagorje County definitely said it would focus on providing support. Region itself provides loans, grants, self-employment grants, and branding when it comes to foreign direct investments. Also, it owns the entrepreneurial center, that is the incubator. It runs the incubator, providing mentor network and alternative sources of funding. I will talk about this later, more specifically. And we as a development agency are definitely kind of a bridge between the national, international level and the regional level, and connecting all the dots in the region. So back to the global situation that is affected definitely the cross-border region, and I think that at the beginning this was also mentioned in the opening statements. When it comes to what is happening to businesses in the last year, it is definitely visible also in Krapina-Zagorje County. Dieter mentioned that his region has more than 3 million people. That is almost as large as Croatia. Croatia, the whole, has 4 million people living, and my region has 130,000 people living in the region. We have 2,500 of businesses. 85% of them are micro businesses. 12% of them are small. 2% are medium businesses, and only 1% of them are large companies. And if we try to see what is the impact of this global crisis on them, definitely the evidence shows that this period of shock, the period that is needed for them to overcome the shock for the small and medium and micro businesses is really more restricted or shortened than when it comes maybe to larger businesses. Also, some surveys showed that most of small or micro businesses have cash only to operate for 1 month. So it's inevitable that they will definitely have to rethink or reposition themselves, or think about how to be more resilient. So to rethink their resilience plan. Of course, when we are talking to our SMEs, when we are trying to understand what is happening to them so that we can better comply with their needs, and to think about some policies that can be introduced on the regional level, we are definitely asking them what is happening with the demand of new products, because it is visible that they have suffered a great loss of demand and revenue from current existing products. And that goes in line with this digitalization, internalization processes we were talking about earlier today. And now, more than ever, our startups and SMEs have been have more understanding for the impact their businesses are making. And I think now is the time that we have to start talking more, and especially in my region, in Krapina-Zagorje region, to nurture and support this discussion on how businesses can also create an impact, and how we can measure and evaluate that impact, and how can they monetize on the impact they are making. Having in mind all of the situations the SMEs are currently operating in, Krapina-Zagorje County definitely made three key conclusions where we want to further explore or what we are doing currently. As I said, as a part of the WBAF, so World Business Angel Investment Forum, Krapina-Zagorje County, together with 4 Croatian partners, Croatian Employers Association and the Entrepreneurial Center, and 1 venture fund, applied for the grant from European Commission in social innovation to develop a new investment mechanism for startups operating in this social impact area. So what we are trying to make is to really connect our venture fund, business angels, and European Angel Fund to create a new mechanism that will be able to provide some seed funding for their startups and to definitely develop the metrics for evaluating the social impact and monetizing on social impact. So on the other hand, that the business angels could be more secure when it comes to investing in social businesses, because we know that maybe the return on investment on socially responsible businesses, as they are not as risky, is maybe somewhat lower than in other high-tech industries when the return on investment comes also much earlier. So that is something that we are doing regionally, but we will open it to the whole Croatia. We think it is a good practice example how we at the regional level can also impact it on the national level and somehow respond to the needs of the startups and SMEs, because we see that in the Croatian environment, we are definitely underdeveloped when it comes to alternative sources of funding. We only have 2 venture funds operating here, 1 business angel network that is not operating very well, and other sources of funding are exclusively loans from the banks that have restricted their terms in the last year. And that is definitely a niche where we see the possibility for the region and our entrepreneurial sector to make an impact. On the other hand, we have definitely focused in providing expertise in our business incubator by creating a mentor network and somehow collaborating with high school and with the higher education universities in Croatia and in the region to foster this open innovation methods with cooperating with SMEs. So in other hand, we are trying to solve real life problems for SMEs by educating students and teachers and pupils in high schools. Of course, everything has to be supported by open and digital services provided by the public sector. We have heard today that we have to provide support, that we have to listen to startups, and that is why we are currently undergoing a real digital transition here in the region that is also somehow led by the public government and Krapina-Zagorje County itself. As the 4th point, I would like to showcase an example of the Be Light scheme. It was also presented, I think, by Anika as a good practice example from implementing. It was implemented in the cross-border region from Croatia and Hungary. But I would also like to point out why not implement it also in other cross-border regions. So this Business Light grant scheme involves our national entrepreneurship agency as the main governing body and the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, and also involves a local development agency in the cross-border regions to foster the internalization processes among companies in the border regions. The last call was finished, I think, 1 month ago, and I have a good practice example, real life practice example from one company in the cross-border region that's operating in the IT sector, virtual identity platform. And the company set up the project consortium of 3 companies, 1 from Hungary and 2 from Croatia, that will develop a new digital identity product for the whole European Union. So they have come together not only to work as separate entities, but they really developed the activities how to develop a concrete product together, and also how to penetrate the market of Hungary, and from Hungary the entire European Union. So it's definitely a good project example, but I've run a quick survey with the project coordinator, so that company that applied from Croatia, and asking really as a startup, what could he benefit in this scheme when it comes to cross-border cooperation. And his responses were that he would really benefit if there was a database of companies in every region that was interested in participating in those cross-border cooperation projects, because it is very difficult to find partners on the other side of the region. And also what is really interested for what he said is that he would also like to see some kind of list of consultants companies that could provide quality support, and he stressed out quality support, so that somehow those consultants could be also reviewed. Okay, he said like refrigerators from A++ to F, but if you see, why not put the name of the consultancy company who developed the project on the application, and when the application goes through, then the consultant could also be somehow evaluated according to the results. And also he says it would be good, since he is a startup, to have free early stage consulting, so free consulting services for early stage companies, so that somebody who is credible can really help them in developing the project concept. And what is really interesting, and somehow we in the public sector often forget about it, is that business cycles in the private sector are much faster than in the public sector. So we definitely have to shorten the time from project application to project results, because the cycles are turning very fast, and maybe something that was needed during the project application within 6 months is no longer applicable to the company. So definitely think about shortening the cycles from project application to the project results. And in this position that we are now in, when we have liquidity problems within SMEs, it would definitely be good to rethink pre-financing for the SMEs, because this Be-Light scheme, I'm talking about pre-financing because the Be-Light scheme doesn't have any pre-financing. And if it comes to returning the when it comes to validation of costs, it definitely also should be quicker, and the refund of the costs should be quicker to help with the liquidity and solvency of the SMEs. And what is very interesting is that when SMEs apply for funding, they usually have to they have to provide some bank guarantees. And sometimes if you're a startup, there is a problem with gaining or having the right amount of bank guarantee. So what he proposes is also maybe thinking about a guarantee agency for early stage companies. Definitely when we are, if I would like to now summarize somehow, Dieter had a good ending quote. I would say that also here in Krapina-Zagorje County, we're definitely ready to create an impact. If someone of you or our potential partners is open for networking, we are definitely interested in social innovation. As I said, we are now developing a new funding mechanism that we would like to expand. The smart cities and smart villages we see as a really good concept in cross-border regions that could boost also the whole entrepreneurial life of the cross-border region and contribute to or not to contribute or to minimize this depopulation of rural areas in cross-border regions. And also we are definitely interested in further human resource development. And what we are trying to do is to focus on artificial intelligence in human resource development, in smart cities, smart villages. And that is one point where we are definitely focusing our business incubator services in the field of artificial intelligence. And we are open to exploring any opportunities with potential partners in the field of artificial intelligence. That is all from my region. I'm sorry, Esteban, if I overstepped 10 minutes limit.
Okay.
Yeah, I just hope I was trying to be more focused and share the voice of the entrepreneurs in Krapina-Zagorje County more concretely.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving the examples of the collaboration with Slovenia between Croatia, and we take very much the message of that you are ready to create impact. And I could assure you that SARA, the development agency, is open for partnership and as well their local stakeholders. In fact, we have helped them to find other companies in Hungary recently. And we know that you are as well with high performance computing with Slovenia. So I pass the floor to Martín Guillermo. Thank you very much, Elena, again.
Thank you very much, Esteban, and thank you very much to Helena and Dieter for the two very interesting presentations going to the point and even giving some clues on the future. Artificial intelligence is becoming also an issue we are trying to explore, but still for many of our members and SMEs, it's like thinking of HAL 9000 or something like this. So we have to debrief more. Thank you very much for these contributions. Well, now last but not least, and I think we are doing this very often with José Lago. I think it's not the first time that we put you at the end, but sometimes we do it because we know that you are able to engage people. So even we have lost some members. I would like to thank those who still resist and to apologize, José, for putting you again here at the end. But I feel very comfortable when you are the one closing. So José has two or three hats. His work has been working in the regional government of Galicia in northwestern Spain, bordering Portugal, where they have a very special cross-border relationship for many years. We have been working together for a long time. But he's also the director of the EGTC Galicia Norte, which is one of those European groupings of territorial cooperation, very active, and even having good synergies with both regional governments and local authorities. So I'm sure you have very interesting things to share with us. So José, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for all of us who are waiting until the end of this meeting. And I have a good news for all of you. I have no presentation, so I will be very brief. And the first thing I want to say that is in Galicia or Portugal, we have a lot of SMEs and especially micro enterprises. Our figures are even higher than in other communities because more than 95% of our enterprises have less than 5 employees. So we have an special entrepreneurship tissue, very different of the other ones. We have only 1, 2, even 3 big enterprises. You know, I think you know, every one of you knows Inditex Empire, Zara, Bershka, and another big enterprise like Citroën, or even one more like Fins, it's a forestry enterprise, and nearly every other ones are SMEs, are short and medium enterprise or micro enterprise, and of course a lot of autonomous or self-employees persons. And in this, with this scheme, you can understand easily we have micro enterprise and then nearly every sector of the economy. Mainly, a lot of them in the agroalimentary sector, in the sea fishing sector, and canning processing especially. And the other big sector is the one of hostelry, in the bars, restaurants, and hotels, and some ones of the not so small enterprises belongs to the export sector. And with this scheme of work, you can understand easily, and we have had a lot of expectations in this year, this whole year 2021. But unfortunately, the pandemic has shut down nearly everything. And fortunately, we have extended the whole year to 1921, 1922. But in this condition, we have a lot of enterprises, a lot of sectors with a very big challenge because of the pandemic. So the governments are spending a lot of time, a lot of resources in preparing aids for these enterprises. It was a big trouble. Another big trouble that comes from this one is the close of the border. You know, last year we have had a closed on the Spanish-Portuguese border. It was the first one in our history. And it seems that no one understands, no one learns nothing, because we have had from this, last week, the Portuguese government have shut the border again. Well, in fact, it's not a shut, it's a temporary close for sanitary reason, but the effect is just the same. And in our border, we have 1,200 kilometers border. There are only nine cross-border passes open. In Galicia Norte, we have 500 kilometers, and there are only 2 crossing points open all day, and partially one more, less than we have in June 2020. So people have to take detours about 200 kilometers, more than 2 hours on delay every day. All people in Galicia, all people in North Portugal demand that we can understand it's necessary to control circulation for sanitary reasons, but we think that all crossing points must be kept open, and that border authorities, they need to allocate all means they consider necessary to control the circulation, but they should let people go if they have to go. And it's a very general claim that I want to share with all of you. And changing the scheme, I'll take one more hat. I have, Martin, I have said 2 ones, because I'm the director of the GTC and the representative Galician government. But besides, I have the focal point of the POCTEP. POCTEP is the brand for Galicia, sorry, for Spain and Portugal for Internet. Is the Spanish-Portugal cross-border cooperation operational program. And POCTEP in this last period, for 214-220, they have four axes. And one of these axes, it was dedicated to promoting the competitiveness of enterprises, especially from small and medium-sized enterprises. In this period, besides, it was the first time that companies were able to participate in the calls of OCTEP. The enterprises can go for this axis, but also for any other axis. And it was a very important thing because it's the first time in our history we have this program open from the prices. And at the moment, with the project in OCTEP, we have 16 active projects actually, they have a total amount of 22 million euros in cross-border business cooperation. And these projects are they have a very wide range of areas because they are from agri-food to maritime sectors to youth entrepreneurships, and they go from job creation labs and to startup support to logistics. So they can go nearly for every side of activity in the economy. And we are actually working with the design of the 21-27 OCTEP strategy, and the intention is to continue to go in this line for trying to strengthening the business fabric and supporting research and innovation, and to promote business grouping and cooperation between any kind of companies, and of course short and medium, of course, especially micro enterprises. I wanted to be brief, and I think I could pass my message. So thank you, Martin. Thank you, all of us, for your comprehension, for staying here until now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose. It was also very interesting that you gave also a clear picture of a special region with you have the land border with Portugal, which is very strong in cooperation, and now the effects of the border closing are even higher in those borders that were previously closed. Any further close is not so relevant. Also, thank you for mentioning two very important sectors. One of them is fishing, which we know is very important for you. You haven't mentioned, but we know that Brexit has also meant additional challenges. This is another story and deserves another workshop. But you mentioned tourism, and actually tourism is an issue for a country like Spain, but also for many border regions all over Europe. Probably these agro-food industries and tourist sector are really key sectors in border regions, and COVID is destroying a lot on this. At least let's hope that we are able to support the reconstruction of these sectors, and we will learn something for the future. But first of all, you mentioned it, we did it at the beginning. I think I would like to insist before giving the floor to Esteban for the final words. Even the member states, they haven't learned that they cannot close the border. The border is not the problem. The problem is everybody, I think, knows where the problems are, but really they are not in the border. And of course, if you have to make controls, you need to put policemen, but the policemen are very busy trying to fight against those guys that they haven't understood yet, that you have to put your mask, that you have to clean your hands, that you have to be able to keep social distance. And so it seems for human beings very difficult to learn very simple things, even when there are thousands of deaf people on table. So, well, I would like to thank you all, particularly the 26, which are still here. And thank you very much, Esteban, for the possibility to share views and reflections. I hope that we will keep on working together in the coming days, weeks, and months. And also thank you very much to the European Commission for an excellent presentation that we will share with all our members. So now I give you the responsibility, Esteban, to be the one closing this really fruitful event. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are pleased to be here in one event of the European Association of Border Regions. if I may recall you something that you have listened today, and one impression or one message to you is that there is a lot of service in the European Commission that are open to hear from you. So you had today the people from DG Grow that is, they are excellent, proactive, and willing to cooperate. So don't hesitate to contact them directly or through Martín Guillermo or me to facilitate the contact. This is the main message that I would like to say, because there is a lot of opportunities for a local stakeholder, and we as public entities, we have to support our stakeholders in our territories. And the second message that I would like to say is thank you very much to the Association of Border Regions. I thought that we were an all association because we were created in 1992, but always is like or even grandson. So you are going to have 50 years next year. You are a model about how we are as regions has to do things, because you are even before the European Commission's regional policy were created. So thank you very much, because we see with you always very specific things that could be solved. For example, the things of the Galician and Portuguese borders and the 100 kilometers that they have to drive and things like that. So thank you very much. And I hope we will, I'm sure, even if that during this year, we will do more things together like always, Martin. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. I would like now to invite you to a glass of wine or whatever, but no way, we have to do it online next time. Thank you all. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.